Hi folks, I'm here with your Pro Tools 110 Exercise 9 video tutorial, which is post-production techniques. And this is a fun lesson because we get to start working with video. The first thing you're going to do is actually create a new session, so we're not opening up an existing session like in some of the other exercises. They want you to give it a name. We're going to be working on this video, Agent MX0, and then they want it to be wave file, 48 kilohertz stereo mix, and your 24-bit. They want it to be interleaved as well. And then we're going to go ahead and click Create. Part 2 of this exercise is setting up the video. So the first thing we need to do is go into the File menu. We need to go into Import Videos. We're going to go to File, Import, and we're going to go into Video. We're going to bring in the video that we're going to be using for this, and it's going to be in the same folder that you open up this session from. And you'll see right here we have a clearly labeled video folder, and we're going to go ahead and open up this .movie file. And it's going to take a moment. We're going to want to go ahead and place it at the session start. And it says we do not want to import the audio from the file. So we're going to go ahead and click OK. And we now have this single video track that's in our session, which is for the Agent 0 video file. In the counter section of the edit window toolbar, we want to show timecode as our main time scale. So we're going to go ahead and switch this over to timecode. And in my case, I don't have a sub counter shown. If it was, they want you to go ahead and actually hide the sub counter. So it wasn't there for me, but if it is for you, that's where you can hide it right next to the main counter. In the session setup dialog box, we're going to go ahead and set the time code that we want to be using. So we're going to make sure in setup, we're going to session. And now we need to set the timecode rate. So this one needs to be set to 23.976, which this one actually is already once I imported it. They also want to make sure that the session start is set to 0000, which it is also in this one. So everything's good here. And if we go to our window, we can actually bring up the video screen, which you can also get to from Command Numpad 9. And if we play it from the beginning, we should see in a moment, we should get a white flash. There's the white flash. And then the video starts right there. And that's what we're going to be working with today's lesson. The next step we have to do is create a 2-pop. So we need to make sure we're in absolute grid mode. So we're going to go ahead and actually make sure that we are in absolute grid mode up here. And we want a grid setting of 1 frame. So instead of working with 1 bar, we actually want to be in time code. And we want to set our grid value to 1 frame. Okay, so you can see that up here, we're in grid mode, and we needed to make sure that we were not in one of the musical ones. We need to be operating in time code for this one. And once I was in time code, I could choose 1 frame from the grid option. Next, we need to create a mono audio track, and we're going to name it 2-pop. After we've created that track, we need to select an area that begins at exactly 3 seconds. So in this case, I'm going to have to zoom in, and we're going to try to get to exactly 3 seconds, which it looks like it's right here for 3 seconds. I need to select an area with a duration of 1 frame. So I need to go ahead in here and zoom in a little bit. And here I can see I'm at 3 seconds, and this is going to be 1 frame right here. So we're going to go ahead and select right here. Next, we're going to go into the Audio Suite plugins. We're going to go to the Other category, and we're going to go into the Signal Generator plugin. From there, we need to use the settings that are shown here. So a couple of things. We need to be working with a sine wave. We do need a frequency set to 1000 hertz, which this is set already. Negative 20 dB is going to be fine. Sine wave, peak should all be selected. So a lot of these default settings, they lined up right away with what they recommend in the textbook, that we need a sine wave at 1000 hertz. I'm going to go ahead and click render, and it's going to go ahead and create this signal in our session. Now when you play your session, we should hear a tone that corresponds to the flash of light. I'm going to bring back the video, which is Command Numpad 9, and let's see if when I play it, we should see, there we go, back up a little more, you can see it, and it corresponds perfectly to it, and that completes that part. Setting the start time. If you look at the burn in at the bottom of the video, so if I let this play and as it rolls through, you'll see it's going to keep going. And this is telling us in terms of time code that we should be at somewhere about hour, 7 minutes, 49 seconds, 6 milliseconds. And unfortunately, we can see that our time code does not line up with this. So we need to fix this. We need to make these two match. So we're going to go back to the session setup dialog box, which you can always get to with command numpad 2. And now we're going to go in and change the session start time. The easiest way to do this is actually to type from the values from left to right, but they're going to move from right to left. So I'll kind of zoom in here. So what I'm going to do is start typing 01, which is going to show up in this place first. Then I'm going to type 07 43 00. And now I have the digits in the correct place. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and click the enter keyboard. And then it's going to say unable to maintain the original time code locations. It's not a problem. We're going to go ahead and click OK to maintain the relative position of our clips. Now, if we play this from the start, we should hear the 2 pop, and then once the video comes in, the burn-in time code marker should match what's in our main counter. So let's go ahead and check it. Playing it from the start, at 3 seconds, we get a 2 pop, and then right around here, we're going to pause it. Right now, my burn-in marker is giving me a time code value of 1074906. And when I go to the main counter, now it matches. So that's what that step did. It means anywhere I click in the video, the burn-in frame rate, the burn-in time code marker is going to match what's in the main counter. Part 3 of the exercise is bringing in audio. So in many post-production settings, different teams work on different types of audio. So our task is to import tracks from different sessions, but in a way in which everything lines up. So we need to go back to the File menu. We're going to go to Import. This time, however, we're going to be going to Import Session Data. And then we're going to go ahead and navigate to the Agent MX0 Foley folder. So we're going to go back to the folder for this project. And now instead of the video one, we're going to go to the Foley folder. And then we need to go ahead and open the PTX session, and we're going to click the Open button. However, it says there's a problem that trips up a lot of post-production workflows. If you look at the source properties of the import session data dialog box, the start time of the session that we're importing is different from the start time in the session that we're importing to. So in here is our start session, and you can see this one I'm starting at 107.48.0. So what we need to do is go to the time code mapping options. And the time code mapping options are going to be down here. So what we're going to do is maintain absolute time code values. For the audio media options, we want to copy from source media. Session data should be no items selected. So all of this stuff should be unchecked. For the main playlist options, we want to be choosing replace existing playlists, which we have right here. We're also going to be importing all tracks from this session. So I'm going to go ahead and select all of these with the option click button. And now all of these are going to end up going to a new track. I'm going to hit OK. And it's going to bring in all of these tracks, which are going to actually line up with our video, which is going to be great. We need to do this whole process one more time. The textbook kind of buries this at the end. We need to do the same thing, but with the dialogue session. So we're going to go back into File, Import, Session Data. And now instead of the Foley folder, we're going to go to Dialog, bring this up again. Might give you the same error message. And we need to do the same exact thing. So the time code mapping options, once again, we want to maintain absolute time code values. Audio media, we want to copy from source media. Session data should have nothing selected once again. And the main playlist options should say import and replace existing playlists. And that's going to be right here. And then once again, we need to bring in all of these tracks. So I'm going to select all of them. We're going to hit OK. So now we have our Foley, all the sound effects, and we have our dialogue and our 2-pop and our video. Part 4 of the exercise is spotting clips. There are a few sounds missing. In the section, we'll bring them in. So in the window menu, we need to go to a new workspace browser. So we're going to go ahead and go to a new workspace browser. And we need to navigate to this exercise, and we're going to try to find the audio files folder. So we're going to go ahead and navigate through wherever you're going to need to navigate to get to this. We're going to go to our documents, which is where I have this stored. And we're going to go to the same folder we have been working in for this entire exercise. Over here is the Agent 0 folder, and we're going to go to this audio files folder right here. Once I've opened this folder, we're actually going to select all of these and we're actually going to bring them into our clips list over here on the right. So I'm going to go back to that workspace browser. Now we're going to take these 3 files and drag them over to our clips list so we can import them into our session. In order to get these clips into our session, we're going to be using the spot mode. So I'm going to go ahead and switch into spot mode, which you can always get to from F3 on your keyboard. And we want to drag the casino clip into it. And I'm going to take this casino clip and we're going to drag it over the tracks list because that's going to make a new track for it. And we get the spot dialog box that's going to come up. We need to type a start time of 1:07:48:0. So here we have same thing. We're going to go 01:07:48:00, and that gives us the start time. We're going to go ahead and click OK. And this goes right to the beginning because this clip for the casino sound effects is supposed to start exactly when the video starts, which we can see in action after it comes through the 2-pop. And now those casino sound effects are playing right from the start of it. We want to set the output of this to go to the FX sub from the bus category. So we're going to go ahead and change this to our FX sub, which conveniently is actually right there. And then it tells us that because it's an ambient clip, we want it to lower the volume so that it's barely audible. And they suggest a value or a level of between -10 and -11 dB. So we're going to go ahead to this casino one. We're going to bring this down to about, we'll go -10.5. But I recommend you go back and listen to it and figure out where it should be in the mix. Once we have that set, we're now going to snap the start of a clip. And it says that we'll notice that the first 2 lines of dialogue are missing from Mysterion and then Agent Zero. We've got the clips in the clips list, so let's get them lined up quickly. So now we want to go ahead and go into slip mode in the edit window. So using the F key, going into slip mode. And we want to place our cursor at 01:07:55:13 on any track. For the next one, I need to bring in this clip, but we want to snap it to a specific point. So I'm going to use the main counter to navigate to exactly where they've requested. So I'm going to hit the asterisk button on my numeric keypad. I'm going to type 01:07:55 and if I hit the enter button on my numeric keypad, I now have my timeline perfectly located. And now I can see I have the AMX ADR1 finish track. Here's the agent first line. If I hold the control button and drag it in, watch how the clip immediately goes to the value I typed in on the main counter or the selection I had made on the timeline. So now it's perfectly synced up. I didn't have to kind of drag it in meticulously, and you can kind of hear it line up with the video.
Always.
And it lines up just there. It's where he says the word always.
Always.
And that was a lot better than me trying to sync it up just by a visual. Now we're going to do a snapping to a sync point, and we have to get that Mysterion first line, which we can tell is still missing. And it says it's not quite so easy. The first word he says is now isn't easy to see, and much of the line is delivered with the character out of frame. So we're going to use a sync point to line up a more visually clear part of the line. They want us to drag the Mysterion first line clip, and they want us to drag it to the Mysterion DX finished track. So here is that Mysterion DX finished track, which is right here. And now I can see here's Mysterion's first line. So we're going to go ahead and drag this in. Gives ourselves a little room to work with it. We want to zoom in so that we can clearly see the waveform, and we want to place our edit cursor where Mysterion says care. So I'm going to listen to this in solo. I'm going to find where he says
now,
care.
Before we get to your impending doom, care to try your skill?
Right, so here is care right over here. He says the word care right here. And now what we need to do is create a sync point. So now that I have this part identified, if I go ahead and hit Command, comma, you're going to see this little green triangle appears at the bottom. So I've now placed a sync point on this clip, which is going to be really useful. We now need to find the place where Mysterion speaks the word care in the video. It's visible on the screen at 01:07:53:14. So we're going to go ahead and find that. So I'm going to navigate to 01:07:53:14. And that's the moment where this sync point needs to go. I'm now going to switch to the grabber mode. So using the F8 key, going into just the grabber mode. And I'm going to hold the Shift and Control buttons and click on this clip. Shift and Control. And you'll see that sync point snapped to that timeline location I had made.
Care to try your skill?
And now the last thing we need to do is just make sure that where our sync point was, it did line up with the video. So I'll back it up a little bit.
Care to try your skill?
Now that we have Mysterion's dialogue lined up, we're going to have to do some clip effects. So this is part 5, clip effects to the rescue. We need to solo the AMXZ ADR1 finish track and select an area from about 10801 to 10807. So we're going to go to the AMR finish track over here. And using my numeric keypad, I'm going to make a selection. So I'm going to use the slash button on my keyboard, and I'm going to type a value of 01080100. Hitting slash again so I can go to the end value box. I'm going to go to 01080700 and hit enter on my numeric keypad. Now I can see I've made a selection from over here. We're going to listen to the selected area. The second clip, But I Thought Tonight, is a bit too boomy. And the third clip, I Play With This, lacks some energy. So because they're both on the same track, a plugin on an insert would cause problems to all of the clips that are on this track. So we want to go to Clip Effects View in the Edit window. And you can see the Clip Effects view is down here. So we're going to go ahead and bring up our clip effects right now. I'm going to zoom in so that I can see the second clip in this area.
Maybe. But I thought tonight.
So here is the But I Thought Tonight clip. I'm going to bring up the Clip Effects window. And we want to reduce the low frequencies and boost the high. So what we can do to try to get this to match some of the values is simply manipulate the EQ that we have here. And this parametric EQ is really easy to use. You can see I can very quickly make the adjustments to match what they have. So boosting some of the low frequencies. We're also going to boost the high frequencies over here. And the high frequencies, they had about plus 1.9 dB. The low frequencies, they had at minus 2.2 dB. So we're going to go a little bit low here, minus 2.2. Nothing for the two middle frequency boxes. They do have a low pass filter on, so we're going to go ahead and turn on a low pass filter, and they have the frequency set to 103 hertz. So I'm going to go ahead over here, and I can actually just type a value over here, 103 hertz. And then my settings match what they have in the textbook, and if I listen to it, it should make it a little less boomy.
Maybe. But I thought tonight.
Now they want us to take a look at the third clip in the selection where he says, I'd play with this. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll over. Here's the I'd play with this clip. And they want us to boost the low frequencies a little and raise the input trim, which we can do over here so that it follows the previous phrase a bit more dramatically. So I'm going to listen to see how loud it is.
I thought tonight. I'd play with this.
Yeah, so it's a little bit quiet here. So we're going to adjust this input trim over here, which we can do simply by clicking and dragging up. Let's see what 2 dB does for it and see how it follows.
I thought tonight. I'd play with this.
That was better just with that. And that's before we've even boosted the low frequencies at all. So we're going to go ahead and go to our lower frequencies here, and we're going to make just a slight boost. And we're going to see how this fits in following the previous line.
But I thought tonight. I'd play with this.
All right. And let's see. It sounds good. Let's see how it feels when we watch it on camera.
But I thought tonight. I'd play with this.
And that definitely seems to follow a bit more dramatically. And after that, that completes the exercise. I hope you found this helpful, getting into video post-production and working with clip effects.